Okay, so be controversial drew first blood this morning, and I see Cameron says he taps foot, but I don't want to hear it from him.
Yeah.
Morning, Mario. How you doing today?
I'm as well as can be. Woke up earlier.
So it's Firearms Friday. We are going to do some DGUs today. I've got a little something extra for the safety brief at the end of the show today. But before we get into the DGUs, in keeping with the tradition of Firearms Friday, which is we just do DGUs unless there's a major recent event to discuss. And in this case, the happenings is we're going to talk just a little bit about the New Orleans terror attack on New Year's Eve. But we're going to be talking about it in a very particular context. I mentioned this a bit yesterday, I guess. Anyway, when I talked about the terror attack the other day, I mentioned this aspect of it in passing, but I want to spend a little time on it this morning. So this is X, this is Twitter, and I'm actually going to try to zoom in on that a little bit so you can read it.
I'm going to confess right now that I did not watch the show yesterday, so I did not do my homework, teacher. I'm sorry.
I think we'll make it, sweetheart.
Okay.
But this is something that I saw happening a lot on X over the last couple days. As you can see the dates, you got January 2nd, you got 14 hours ago, 22 hours ago. Kevin Sorbo, that's right, Hercules, right at the top of the list. Buy a gun, learn how to use it, carry it everywhere. You're damn right, Kevin. Absolutely. Oh, I actually have Kevin Sorbo as a LinkedIn contact. need to try and exploit that connection a little more. Oh, good guy, sharp dude. But among the wildflowers, pretty little libertarian chick says buy a gun, learn how to use it, carry it everywhere. Steve, right? Steve Loves Ammo is a great follow on X. Purple Heart guy, Afghan vet. I've had a couple of good conversations with Steve, sharp dude. This is not our Steve, the old one eye, but sharp guy. Says this twice deployed combat veteran is telling everyone right now to buy more guns and ammo if you can. Train yourself. You are at war right now, and pretending that you aren't is ridiculous.
Yep.
Protect yourself and your family. The government has failed you. And yep. I think this is one of the ones I replied to on this. I replied to several of them. Absolutely. Yes, buy a gun, buy guns, arm yourselves, and learn how to use it, right? I think, okay, I'm going to scroll past that one real quick and get down to, there's another, like I said, there's several of them. One, right here, yeah, Mr. Jack says, I carry every day. Here's the thing. I want you to buy more guns and ammo. With that, I want you to go take training courses, go take self-defense classes, go to the gym, take first aid. Just because you carry doesn't mean you're prepared. So Mario and I, we don't just carry every day. We're both trained warfighters. And that means, that has included marksmanship training, but that also has entailed.
Chris, we lost sound on you. We lost audio from you. Nope, no audio. No audio, Chris. We got no audio from you. Here. Go ahead and yeah, I'm not getting any audio from you at all. Okay, so while Chris is working on that, yeah, talking about it's yeah, we're at war. Okay, yeah, that's something everyone needs to understand. As the diversity increases, the community cohesion is going to decrease. All right, you have never been more atomized and alone, and basically separated from any aspect of community as you are right now. That's just a sad reality. 2025 is going to be no audio, Chris. 2025 is going to be the year of the honk. Okay, understand that. Clown world isn't over just because Trump won the election. Clown world is in fact metastasizing. Um, and you can just see just by the very first day of the year. Who are these people? We're talking 2 Army veterans. All right. One of them was Special Forces. We're talking like the cream of the crop. A Special Forces cream of the crop U.S. soldier self-immolates outside of Trump Tower in a rented Cybertruck. Okay, with a bunch of gas cans and fireworks in the truck bed. This is this is preposterous. Like, I'm not, and you go online, whether it's Twitter or whether it's 4chan, whatever, and you try chasing leads and going down the rabbit hole. But at some point yesterday, I realized, like, why? Why try to understand it? Why try to contain it? This is simply how it's going to be. A lot of people don't want any. Well, a lot of people in power, particularly the elites in the banking industries and in the military industrial complex for arms manufacturers, they don't want to turn down the volume, okay, at all. In fact, they're probably quite disappointed that they're going to have to deal with the Trump administration, which may not have the same game plan as them, okay, for how to proceed in late stage capitalism, where the U.S. dollar at any given moment could collapse, all right, because people stop buying our debt. Um, Russia's already done significant damage to that by showing the world that you can, in fact, survive outside of the SWIFT payment program, where governments trade US dollars back and forth as an easy, basically like Cash App or Venmo. Um, so I guess they want war. Someone desperately wants a war, and they're going to keep pushing this social like social unrest, all right, and intense lack of security, basically to put people on edge, to try to put them on a war footing. um, I don't know if they're going to have their way, but I do know that they want war in 2025. Okay, who are they? I don't know, don't quote me on that, but someone's desperate to start a serious global conflict so that they can wipe away $35 trillion in debt, which can never be repaid, which can never be repaid, and the very financing thereof is now becoming a national security threat. We're almost spending as much on the interest on our national debt as we are on the very defense industry itself. So, yep. Chris, I was kind of hoping you would bail me out here at some moment. I can't just ramble endlessly like you can. Well, okay. I guess we can talk about some. Well, anyway, anyone in the chat have anything they want to say about bad omens? Given it's only the 3rd day of the year, we've already got 2 potentially terror-related attacks. Yeah, none of. Go ahead. Yeah, Pit Danny. Exactly. Are we going to get real answers on that? No. And I get probably the advent of Clown World for me. The advent of Clown World. Good point. Was the Mandalay Bay shooting in Las Vegas in what was it, 2017, 2018, right? Where we've got a guy, Stephen Paddock, holed up in a holed up in a suite, right, in the Mandalay Bay Hotel. Uh, Destroys a hurricane-proof glass, and then with an entire arsenal in the room, just unloads mag after mag, rifle after rifle on a crowd. Worst mass shooting in U.S. history. And what was the final result for the investigation of the FBI, or even higher? That went higher than the FBI. I'm sure the CIA was involved because it involved a Saudi national in the background, but details were sparse and not explained in the slightest. Um, no answer. So, and what was it used for? It was used for a half-hearted attempt to push for more gun control. I expected worse. People gave Trump a lot of shit over that bum stock issue. Honestly, I didn't care. If you had to throw them a bone as a result of the worst mass shooting in history, throw them a more or less gimmicky accessory. Okay, and then under Biden administration, some judge overturned it anyway. So I didn't see it as any harm, any foul. Um, I do view Pam Bondi, the incoming Attorney General, as with some suspicion, given the statement she's made in the past regarding gun control. She fully supports no knock, basically no knock red flag laws, where the cops just bust in and take your weapons. which is, I mean, that's anathema to Republican, conservative, or right winger alike. All right. Chris, do we have you back yet? Chris, do we have you? Shit. Well, anyway, 2025. Expect
tail end of what
things
you
to
were
get
saying
worse.
about
Pam Bondi? Yeah.
red flag laws and Pam Bondi. Yeah.
But anyway, so I went on my little speech there. I guess I want to close with 2025, year of the honk. It's only going to accelerate. You have to understand the United States right now is like a leaf floating in a puddle that's circling a drain. Okay, as the leaf gets closer to that drain, it's going to spin faster and faster and faster until it just falls out. So expect chaos and expect shit that don't make no damn sense to keep happening for the foreseeable future. And that's all I have on that.
Okay. Well, bear with me just a second. I'm trying to get put back together after having to drop out. Now I got to find.
Yes, Your Majesty, I can see the comments.
Savage Lee says, I'm not a political party. I'm an American. Woohoo. Woohoo. Woohoo.
I hear that.
Oh, crap.
How do I internet? I don't know. How do?
Well, what I did is I copied all of the tabs that I had open with our articles for this morning.
And they're all gone, naturally.
I bookmarked them all together, and now I don't see where that bookmark landed. I should have a bookmark I can click here that just opens them all up.
But I suppose you could open them individually.
So what we were talking about, I'll try to multitask a little bit here. The one guy had said, don't just buy a gun, get you some training. There we go. Open all. So the one cat had said, don't just buy a gun, but get you some training.
Training doesn't have to be anything impressive or tactical or cool.
Savage Lee says, what are you having for breakfast? Me? Mag dumping off the back porch. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Training can be something as simple as going in the pantry and finding some soda that you don't want to drink, taking it to the range, and shaking it up real good and blasting them for comic effect. That's what I do.
Well, and that kind of Savage Lee touched on it, and what you just said there. Yeah, I just hung up a bunch of empty coffee cans in my backyard, and even if you're still stuck in the suburbs where you can't just go out and blast away in the backyard, go get you some airsoft guns. Especially get you one that replicates your main battle rifle and one that replicates your sidearm. You can do your changeover drills with them. You can do your quick draw drills with them. You can do your magazine change drills with them. And while they don't have the recoil of a real firearm, for close range engagements, for self-defense range engagements in that less than 20 meters area, they're plenty accurate to practice putting rounds on target. And by the way, if you live way out in the woods and you can go shoot all you want anytime you want, it's also practical to use a BB gun, one of the toy guns, for part of your training regiment, because the ammunition is just so much cheaper. And you can drill and practice fundamentals, use just shooting off propane and BBs, and save yourself a pile of money on the expensive ammunition. But yeah, part of what I wanted to talk about with, seeing all these guys on X talking about, hey, get out there and buy a gun, arm yourselves, do the right thing, be ready to do the right thing. We also see this one's from the articles from early last year, I think. But George Takei, after you violate the Second Amendment and illegally confiscate guns from law-abiding Americans, who in the Ukraine will you be giving these to? Because if you'll recall, when the Ukraine situation first broke out, and we covered this is one of the things we covered on the show, right? When the Ukraine situation first broke out, Zelensky immediately started just handing weapons to civilians. And guys like us are sitting here like, duh. Right? We don't have beachheads, groundfall incursions in the United States. Right? Foreign militaries do not send invasion forces to try and land on the United States. Because if you land on the East Coast, you cannot move forward without having to cross the Mississippi at some point. If you land on the West Coast, you cannot move forward without having to cross a mountain range at some point. And in between those two barriers to the center of the country are millions of rednecks who own more guns than the U.S. has people. Right? The old adage, there's a gun behind every blade of grass. It is your patriotic duty to be one of the guns behind that blade of grass. So you got, George Takei, crazy thought, but those 20 million AR-15s now in this country could sure arm a lot of Ukrainians. Yeah, no shit, George. Thanks for acknowledging the entire reason the Second Amendment is so important. So that was part of that. And then back to the training element. Like I said, don't just buy a gun. Get you some land, move out of the cities. Go live somewhere that you can mag dump and hunt in the morning. Sergeant Major likes to just, grab a Bambi in the morning with his cup of coffee. And he's an old war fighting badass. So, 500 meters out ain't nothing. I don't think he even puts his coffee down to catch breakfast. And that's just part of doing business in this day and age. So let's talk a little bit about what actually happened. And this is why it's important in the context of this conversation. More often than not, when you have one of these love truck situations, the driver doesn't survive impact, right? They'll have an explosive device or they'll catastrophically destroy the vehicle they're driving. That's not what happened in New Orleans, though. This driver plowed into a crowd full of people, and then I gotta scroll down now. The suspect exited his car and began shooting at police officers who returned fire, according to the FBI. The suspect was shot and killed by officers, police said. 2 officers were injured and were in stable condition Wednesday. But before that happened, a few blocks away, a group of police officers jumped into action after appearing to receive an emergency call. The officers sprinted down the street, pushing through wandering partygoers in their hurry, right? Just a friendly reminder that when seconds matter, the police are minutes away. So
I've watched the video.
Every situation, just like every active shooter terror situation, it ends when a gun finishes it, when a gun shuts it down. Either the terrorist unalives himself or a good guy with a gun shows up. Now, that good guy with a gun, if he's a badged officer, he shows up late. He has to, right? Unless he's there amid the potential casualties when the event first begins.
They were. He did this thing right in front of sitting cop cars. That's why it was over so fast.
Right. And but that's my point. Unless they're right there when it begins, you have to wait for them to be contacted, informed, deployed, and arrive. They got lucky here. The uniformed officers were on scene. But what if they weren't? What if they weren't? How many more bodies can a bad guy drop if there's not a good guy there with a gun?
That's a tough one, though. I mean, because specifically this event, we're talking like New Year's Eve, 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, there's nothing good happens after 2 a.m. Right? And especially if it's New Year's Eve, there's going to be plenty of alcohol involved. I'm not sure I would be carrying a pistol if I was going to be inebriated in public. That's just me. I mean, I trust myself, but I trust myself, but I just don't want the possibility of me getting into what I think at the time is a legitimate self-defense situation. But in reality, if I had been sober, I might have taken a more measured approach. You know what I mean? I can see myself doing something like that. I don't see myself doing a negligent discharge in the streets. I just see myself, getting my Irish up and pulling that piece faster than I would, normally.
Now, for me, for my taste personally, I don't drink in public, and this isn't a self-defense thing. This is I'm kind of a cheap old Scottish guy thing. I don't like to spend the money on liquor.
You drink other people's beer. You drink,
and they just let you.
Don't go down that. Don't. I'm sorry. Stay focused. We're already like, we're already 23 minutes in and no DGUs yet. Okay.
But yeah, the last time I went drinking in public,
it's too late.
The last time I actually went drinking in public, like I've had a beer with dinner here and there, or an old fashioned with dinner, one drink with a meal in public since then. But the last time I went drinking in public was when Mario said, "Lowry, let's go drinking." And I said, "Son, we went drinking last weekend. I don't want to spend any more money." And he said, "I'll buy you 2 drinks for every drink you buy." And I said, "Oh, Mario. Okay, I'm going to teach you some math tonight."
Yeah,
that was a good night. That was the same night. That we had the run-in with the little blonde Air Force chick.
I don't remember her. I might have been blackout by that point.
You made an absolute ass of yourself, and then we ran into her. We ran into her in civvies the next day at the PX.
I have no doubt.
She walked up and patted you on the shoulder and gave you a hug. She said, "I'm glad you made it, soldier."
Which means she thought I was cute.
Yep.
That's the takeaway.
Okay. We're a little off track. But for just a second, Mario. Remember when we were at Goodfellow? There were always these just adorable, cute, tiny little Air Force officers, these little lieutenants that had just come out of college, right? And we're these big badass soldiers. Good drill and ceremony, good military bearing, good military etiquette and everything. And the gaggle of pretty little blonde lieutenants walks by, and you do the right thing, right? You pop your salute, "Ma'am, morning, ma'am," and they would return the salute like this. They say, "Good morning." They do the little giggle and flex their head down and do the like they're trying to do the little cutesy laugh thing.
In their cute little airline stewardess uniforms.
Yeah, and every time it was like, okay, look, you're delightful, you're adorable, I appreciate that, but wow, you have absolutely zero business being in a military uniform.
Yeah, I saw a lot of that.
This belongs in a military uniform. This does not. So. Oh, what? Okay, one final little aside before we get back to the story, and I think we're just going to go ahead and get into the DGUs now. I did watch the story of Wojtek with the kids last night. The Polish artillery bear, yeah. Wojtek, the bear. So y'all, Mad Lad, Wojtek, the artillery bear, is a video about the bear that served with the Polish army in World War II, that drank beer and ate cigarettes and carried artillery rounds for the Polish army in World War II. Go check that. Yeah, Wojtek the battle bear. Mario, do that again. Look at the tab where you just typed that in. See where it says private. Click on the little carrot there and click on all. And post that again.
I don't have any carrot.
Oh. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm not going to learn how to use it live.
Okay, I'll do it.
Anyway, just copy paste that. That's the correct spelling. People want to look it up. It is funny.
Yeah, go check out Wojtek the battle bear, and then Mario and I got on that topic yesterday when I was telling him about this cat, the Fat Electrician. And yeah, just Google the Fat Electrician. I've been watching his videos with my kids. He does military history, and he is hysterical. Some of it is like solid, like academic military history, but he's got a style and a commentary that just really makes it work. The Fat Electrician, and then he's got stories like the Devil Duck, the Band of Beavers, the time a bunch of World War II vets had to relocate all the beavers out of a marshland, so they just threw them out of a bird. They just took them up in a C-130 and threw them out. Not C-130, but they took them up in an airplane and just threw them out of the airplane on parachutes. Definitely good stuff. So let's get into these articles.
Shots fired. What's going on
what?
today? Shots fired. Let's go.
Yeah. So we've got this one from Mario. I haven't read the article yet. I just glanced at the headline. Stand your ground law clears Florida man and neighbor's deadly shooting charges dismissed. A Florida court has dismissed charges against a 79-year-old man who invoked a controversial self-defense law after fatally shooting his neighbor's adult son as he trimmed tree limbs and threatened him from the defendant's side of a shared fence. Okay, real quick, before we get any further in here. It says he invoked a controversial self-defense law.
It's stand your ground.
So
stand your ground law.
No, hold on. I got to say this. Fuck you, CNN. Self-defense, right to self-defense. The right to not be killed by somebody is not controversial. If anybody ever tries to kill you, you have the right to try and kill them right back. And the expectation that you should do it first. Don't let people kill you. It's not okay.
So the legal grounds for self-defense in most states, it's going to fall into one of two categories. Okay. Either stand your ground or duty to retreat or some measure thereof. Okay.
Right.
What it means is basically you either, in Florida, if somebody starts some shit with you, okay, you have a right to not back down. You have a right. You don't have to leave. You don't have to like run away. You don't have to try to escape the situation. Okay. You don't have to be a pussy. All right. Is what the Florida law states. And sometimes that can result in, just stupid consequences where people die needlessly simply because they had a moment, like in that show, the Boondocks. You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Having an end moment.
Hit a moment. Right? I got it.
Had a moment. Okay. So anyway, what we have here basically is, I'll summarize real quick. It's an elderly man and his wife, right, are living in this house, and then and next door is a different family and their adult son who's 42. Who's been in and out of prison. Like he's a known dangerous individual. Okay. He's a felon. All right. And he's out doing yard work, kind of right on the fence between their property. And he's cutting down some trees, cutting down tree limbs, etc. All right. So the old man, Boomer Supreme, okay, who is a Florida archetype, decides that, he's got a problem with the way that this guy's landscaping. So he tells his wife he's gonna basically put his gun in his pocket and walk over there and confront the guy about the way that he's trimming the hedges. I mean, I cannot imagine a more Boomer scenario than this. All right. Anyway, the ex-felon's son, who's standing there doing like the yard work with his 8-year-old son, all right, with him, obviously starts a conversation. It turns into a, dick measuring contest, right away. And apparently the ex-felon makes a move or basically threatens the guy, and the Boomer Supreme pulls his piece and blasts him, all right in front of the guy's 8-year-old son. Part of the reason he wasn't convicted of like manslaughter or second-degree murder or whatever was because the 8-year-old son of the felon actually admitted to the police that my dad was like pretty psycho mad at the time, and it was kind of scary. Anyway, it's kind of a pathetic situation. I hate these kind of DGUs because it didn't have to happen. Okay, I mean, if you're going to confront someone over landscaping, do we really need to elevate that to deadly force? I don't. I don't think so. I don't think deadly force should even be within the realm of possibility when we're talking about freaking landscaping here. Okay, so
agreed.
Boomer Supreme is an asshole, and the felon next door is also basically probably a threat to society. But I wonder what the details are behind his release. Maybe he just needs to be in jail if he's that dangerous. You know what I mean? Or if he can elevate landscaping to a life or death situation. I don't know. That's my take on the story. All are, as in Romeo and Juliet, all are punished. Okay.
Yes. Now, And I agree. I agree generally that this does not sound like a story where it should have escalated to deadly force. Oh, that's a perfectly fair take. I'm totally comfortable with it. But still, CNN article, you've got this insertion of language of Russell conjugation. It is a controversial self-defense law, right? And then down here, what was the other thing he said? They said
this is in my county, by the way. This is in Volusia County. So
gotcha.
De Leon Springs, 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, here you go. Such measures have been linked to increased homicide rates. Right? They're making the argument that people having the right to defend themselves
results in more homicide.
Results in more homicide. You know what? Let's be clear about this.
This is the price of freedom. This is the price.
In a sense, yes, this is the price of freedom, because let me clarify something for you. They said increased homicide rates. What's it do for murder rates? There's a big damn difference between a murder rate and a homicide rate. Yep. And you know what? I will take a high homicide rate for a very low murder rate any day of the week.
Yep.
Because a low murder rate against a high homicide rate tells you that victims are not putting up with the bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
We had an incident.
Murder goes down, manslaughter goes up.
Right? Well, no, not even manslaughter. So you got murder, homicide, manslaughter.
I don't.
Homicide means a person killed a person.
I don't.
Murder means a person killed a person for an evil reason. Manslaughter means they might not have had the intent.
There's negligence involved.
Yeah. Right. They might not have had the intent, but it still wasn't justified. Right. There is such a thing as in fact, maybe what we need is a word that means justified homicide, other than just homicide. But like, we had an incident in Conyers that we covered on the show. This was 3-4 years ago, where there was a truck driver who was out in his driveway at 3 or 4 in the morning, butt crack of dawn, not even butt crack of dawn, butt crack I'm getting up to go to work. When all of a sudden he was approached by some half a dozen young men wearing masks, all armed. He drew and opened fire and killed several of them while the others ran away. And the next day on Facebook, Sheriff Levitt made a post about how they were investigating the murder that was committed by the truck driver. And, of course, we lambasted him. We're like, hold on a minute. Hold on. This was not necessarily a murder. In fact, I'm ready to say this was absolutely not a murder, but in the legal sense, this is definitely not necessarily a murder. There's been no trial yet, and there's some pretty compelling circumstances that seem to justify this man using his lawfully owned firearm in self-defense against not an armed attacker, an armed horde, an armed group of attackers. Right. And of course, we lambasted the sheriff over having used the word murder when at most he should have been using the word homicide. And that distinction is not an insignificant one.
Here, I'll take a stab at it. How about the word will be bonocide? Bonocide. Good killings.
I like that. Bonocide.
Yep. All righty. So who's next on the docket for getting blasted?
Okay, this one, this is also one of yours.
Do you have any actual any defensive situations, or do you want to go into the what not to do with firearms segment? You got any?
Let's do this one, and then
okay,
I'm going to skip 2.
So the ones that I picked are basically Florida man related. Okay, you could say Boomer Supreme from the previous story is basically an archetypal Florida man, right? Well, this one takes place in Orlando. All right, it was a New Year's Eve celebration, and a group of individuals decided that they were going to join in the fireworks display by shooting firearms in the air. Okay, now this is this is a Hispanic thing, okay? And I just, just want to say to Mexicans out there, let's bring it in. Let's bring it in. Let's talk for a minute, okay? I understand there are some cultural practices that you have or that you enjoy, okay, which are shared by other people on the planet. Mexicans aren't the only ones who like shooting guns in the air to celebrate, okay? They do that shit in the Middle East all the time, all right? Now, there are some things that you can get away with if you're standing in the Sonoran Desert, okay? That you can't get away with if you're in an urban sprawl area like Orlando, all right? One of them would be shooting guns in the air. As we like to say on this program, a bullet never misses. It just hits the target you didn't intend for it to hit, okay?
Right. It
And
always hits something.
and sadly, that's what happened here. A 2-year-old girl basically got greased because a bunch of yahoos decided to shoot guns in the air to celebrate New Year's. Now, what an awful way for that family to bring in the new year. Okay, something that was supposed to be fun, and it turns into a senseless tragedy like that. Just you can't do it. You can't do that shit. Okay, you got to leave that back in the old country. And what I'd like to say even more so is kind of what I talked about earlier is you gotta avoid the guns and the alcohol. Okay, I like guns and I love drinking. Okay, but I don't mix them. I don't mix them. I give myself credit for that. I do have that level of discipline where I know that when I'm drunk, it's not the time to go grab your pistol and do some dry fire and exercises and just you know what I'm saying. Don't be posing and playing grab ass games with a gun when you're drunk. All right. Even if you are taking safety procedures, because here's what can happen. Let's say you're drunk and you got a firearm and it's not loaded and it's safe. But because you're drunk, you left it out in the open. Okay. You forgot to put it away because you were drunk because you just passed out and left the gun out. Okay. Now one of your kids can grab it. Okay. And if they're of an age where you haven't really started the basics of gun safety with them, they could get themselves hurt, or someone could steal your weapon. That shit scares me. What scares me is someone stealing my weapon and then using it to commit crimes, and then I've got to deal with that bullshit because that shit's going to link back to me. Okay, don't be that guy. It's sloppy. Guns and alcohol is sloppy behavior.
It is. Real quick, there's a little side conversation going on in the comments here. Unverified Bear says, "Count yourselves lucky." So we know Bear comes to us from the British Isles. Says, "Count yourself lucky. Possession of any kind of weapon with the express intent of self-defense is a criminal offense here." Which, yeah, that's Bear. After we kicked your rosy asses out of the colonies, we said to ourselves, that whole place is going fucking wrong. And part of it is because the people don't have guns, and so they have to listen to whatever the shithead king says and have zero recourse to petition their government for redress of grievances. So write that shit down. Petition the government for redress of grievances and do it with a rifle so that they at least have to pretend to listen to you, right? And of course, Steve says,
King Charles
brings this up. Because I want to be clear about this. We constantly hear that, oh, well, they don't have guns in Britain or Japan, and they have almost zero gun crime. Yeah, look at the murder statistics. They still have deaths, and they always try to inflate it by saying, well, they've only got X number of murders in Britain, or they've only got X number of murders that happen every year in Japan, and then you look at America, and you've got all these gun deaths. Oh wait, I didn't say murders, did I? Because you come over to the United States and the number that they compare to the murders everywhere else include self-harm, accidents, right? And all that kind of stuff. They include the things that are not murder in the conversation to change the numbers. And then, of course, when you look at the homicide rate, right? Forget guns for just a second. When you look at the homicide rate globally, if you remove the 5 largest cities from America's homicide numbers, and this is important because those 5 largest cities have the highest crime rates and the strictest gun laws. And if you discount those cesspools of sociopathy, socialism, and Democrats, America is suddenly one of the safest countries in the world. In fact, as long as you stay your ass out of the nasty cities, you are pretty damn safe in the United States of America, right?
And when you look
So
at the
they like to
Democrat,
conflate those numbers, and then you look at, and then again, you look at the British Islands, you look at Great Britain, you look at Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and what do you have? You have a disarmed population that is currently and has been for over a decade suffering with a massive problem with hostile foreign invaders running grooming gangs and rape gangs,
yeah,
abusing their young girls and boys to such an extent that the most popular baby name in the UK last year was Muhammad.
well, that's part of the reason that is because the Arabs are the least creative people on earth, and they always name their first like son Muhammad or some variation of Muhammad.
Yeah,
like Hamoudi, Mehmet, Mahmoud. Like it's all Muhammad. Like it's
right.
the only name they know. Except that's why we can at least give Shamsun Din Jabbar some credit. He didn't go with the obvious. He was creative. Okay. Anyway, the UK.
Oh, and you don't real quick, as part of that same conversation, like I said, all the cities in the country that have the highest crime rates, they have the most restrictive gun laws. One of the cities in this country that has the lowest crime rates is Kennesaw, Georgia, that Danny mentions. Mario, do you know about Kennesaw, Georgia?
Yeah, it's where you're if you live there, you're supposed to like by statute.
Local ordinance. If you, in order to own a home, you are required to own a handgun, not a firearm. Specifically, you must own a handgun. You can own as many guns as you want, but you have to own at least one handgun to own a home in Kennesaw, Georgia. And they have one of the lowest rates of crime in the country.
Yeah. Well, I'll just say one thing I wanted to add about the UK, like, not having gun crime. It's pretty cold comfort when the crime involves, machete attacks and hammer attacks in the streets.
Correct.
I don't know about you. I'd rather take a 9mm somewhere in the torso than get hacked up with a freaking machete. All right, that's just me. I'd rather.
Yeah, and hey, speaking as someone who has experienced the difference directly,
hacked up dudes with a machete. No, don't go into it. Don't. I know you told me. I've heard your story.
I mean,
they can't handle that. They don't need it.
Sometimes you shoot a guy. Let me tell you something. Unless you're bad at what you're doing, it's over pretty quick. Sometimes you have to beat a man to death with a heavy object like dimension lumber. That takes more time. It hurts more. It's nasty.
Uh-huh.
And oh yeah, by the way, when you're talking about hostile foreign invaders, Muslim terrorists, have you ever seen somebody die in an acid wash?
It's fucking hit. That's
one of their favorites is the acid attack.
Yeah, it's the most disgusting culture.
No, for clarification, I haven't ever killed somebody with an acid bath. I saw somebody in an industrial accident lose his life to basically a pipe full of sulfuric acid.
It's like that
that's
scene.
Not like the one you want.
Like that scene out of RoboCop, where help me.
Yeah, and to be fair, he didn't actually die.
He probably should have, though. It probably would be more merciful.
Yeah.
Was this titanium tetrachloride?
No, this was straight sulfuric acid.
Oh,
titanium tetrachloride. Titanium tetrachloride is not a liquid. It gets in your lungs. You will cough your lungs up before it kills you. That's what rebreathers are for.
So, all right, someone getting shot.
So we definitely need to get to a funny story. Need to get something a little lighter hearted for this next bit. Share this tab instead. Switch there. Deputy forced to shoot attacking cow on highway. This is from Concealed Nation. An Idaho deputy was hospitalized after being attacked by an aggressive cow on Interstate 15 following a truck fire that led to cattle being released. The deputy defended himself, resulting in the cow being shot. A Bingham County deputy was hospitalized Sunday afternoon after being attacked by an aggressive cow at an Interstate 15 near Shelley, Idaho. ID is Idaho, yeah. The incident happened after a truck transporting cattle caught fire, forcing the driver to release the livestock on the highway. Okay, in fairness, in all fairness to the cow,
I feel bad for the cow.
If your trailer's on fire,
I get it.
I imagine I'd be in a pretty, I'd be pretty hacked off too. I'd be in a pretty rough mood myself.
I mean, think about it. You're a cow. You got an IQ of about 10. You know what I mean? You're already unhappy because you're stuffed on a trailer going down the highway and you're hearing all these human noises and all these bumps and all the vibrations. And then the damn trailer catches on fire, which is your primordial fear. Okay. And you finally get off that trailer. Yeah, you're going to be in a bad mood. You're going to be a pissed off steer. Okay. Poor guy.
Yep. We had a sheep one time that the battalion had bought to give to one of the local elders because we had greased his son the day before in a failed VBID run, right? So the kid's on a motorcycle with a suicide vest coming at the gate, and one of the gate guards put him down before he could get to the gate, blow it up, and because Obama was a bitch and had to play appeasement with everybody.
Fact.
The command team bought a sheep to give to the local elder to apologize for having killed the suicide attacker. So here's this sergeant major and this colonel walking across Fob Pasab in just north of Kandahar with this sheep, and I'm coming from the opposite direction, headed to the chow hall because, of course, because they had bacon. So I spent a lot of time there, and they lost the grip. The sergeant major had the leash on the sheep, and the sheep pulled away, and he lost his grip. The sheep comes charging at me, and he hollers at me, "Hey, soldier, stop that sheep!" And I'm like, and okay. Put my shoulder down, and the son of a bitch ran slap into my shoulder, and I held my ground, and he flopped over on she flopped over on her side. Mario, you've seen the Afghani sheep, right? They have the big bouncy ass. Like the ridiculous. Yeah.
Oh no,
it was one of those.
No, sheep can get ornery. Okay.
They can.
There's some stubborn animals. Not as bad as a ram, but yeah. I mean,
this one ran into my shoulder and had a bad day. And I'm pretty sure she was butchered and roasted later that evening. But yeah. So, and hey, I won that exchange, but I'm here to tell you, that shit's for real. Getting hit by a farm animal at a high rate of speed, that's no joke. The fire, which started around 1:30 p.m. near exit 108, was extinguished by local firefighters. No human injuries were reported from the fire itself, but the highway remained closed for hours as authorities worked to corral the cows. During the effort, a cow injured in the chaos repeatedly attempted to enter northbound traffic. Chief Deputy Jordan Nebeker explained that while trying to move the cow away, the animal charged and launched a deputy airborne before continuing its attack on the ground.
Absolutely.
Fearing for his life, the deputy was forced to shoot the cow in self-defense. The deputy sustained minor injuries and was transported to Eastern Idaho Regional Medical Center, where he was later released. So the cow didn't just like kick him or something. Launched the deputy airborne. God, I hope there's body camera footage to go with that.
You've seen. I'm sure you've seen. I'm sure you and the audience, everyone's seen footage of like rodeos gone wrong. You know what I mean? Where the bull wins. That's not what you want.
Yeah,
it's not the one you want.
I saw one the other day. The bull kicked the guy in the hip, like stepped on the guy's hip after he dropped him off. And, yeah, and his legs were, all of a sudden his legs were like this.
That's a lifetime worth of recovery for sure. Right.
Oh yeah, that's
yep.
Honestly, seeing the injury, I mean his leg was completely flipped around backwards and pointed up instead of down. I would honestly be surprised to hear that he kept that leg. Yeah. So.
All right. Do we have anything else, or you want to?
Yeah. We're to the safety portion here, and instead of doing a kind of generic safety brief like we often do, this article I've got an article here, and this also comes from concealednation.org. Guys, I'm a big fan of concealednation.org, and they often have articles like this that are kind of generic. No, not generic. That's not the right word. But general gun safety stuff. They'll. I get some of my DGUs from these guys, but they also have these kind of stories. And so you got this one, age-specific gun safety tips.
Is that where you get these stories? Because I didn't really know where to look. I just typed in last night. I typed in 2025 shootings, and I figured because the polling sample would be so small, I can't lose. But you got to.
No, there's a few places I get them. One of them is Reddit/DGU. One of them is concealednation.org. I've got a list of them. I can send you over some links.
I love this picture. This is great.
Yeah. So, we talk about educating your children on firearms. I've got 4 kids and guns, right? I mean, we've talked about it. These behind me here, these are airsoft guns we use for movie props, and for just playing airsoft. So those are basically props, but we keep real weapons in the house. Steve Rodemeyer says this, and I repeat this sentence to my kids all the time, and I got it from Steve to begin with. Tips for kids. I love this one. This is one of those that makes you say, how is Steve Rodemeyer never an 11 bang bang? Tip for kids: keep your booger hook off the bang switch. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Remember being in training, Mario, and an NCO would stomp his foot on the ground as he said something, and you knew, paying attention. I'm here. Oh,
no. The worst thing, the greatest shame that can happen to you is for a drill sergeant to grab your helmet or grab you by the neck, take out his piece of chalk and write FFI on your helmet and send you to the back of the line. Failure to follow instructions. That is, you're done. That is the greatest shame.
I never experienced that one. That never happened to me.
Not did I, but I saw it happen. I saw it happen during the grenade course. Okay, which is understandable. We really don't have room for error here.
Oh yeah, no. You remember that kid at Bravo that overslept, and they made him wear a giant clock?
Yeah, like he was fucking, like he was Flava Flav.
Like he was Flava Flav. They made him wear a giant clock for like a month. So anyway, the article reads, educating children about firearm safety is a lifelong process that evolves as they grow. Tailoring your approach to their age and maturity ensures the message is both understandable and effective. Okay, so in my house, the weapons are out of physical reach of the 5-year-old who has been told, don't touch daddy's guns. And then the next youngest is the 9-year-old who just got his own, who just got his first Rudy Tooty shooting. I put the box up there because it really is a beautiful and an iconic box. But the Red Ryder carbine, it's not quite the exact same one from A Christmas Story. I didn't realize it until we opened it up. It doesn't have the compass in the buttstock. I was a little disappointed to see that, but that's Michael, brother, I tell you what, Michael's probably run 1,000 rounds through that BB gun since Christmas Day. I hung up coffee cans in the backyard, and he's out there just. When we first opened it, he couldn't cock it. His little 9-year-old arms couldn't do it. So every time I turn around now, he's doing push-ups and going out in the yard, and he's boom, boom. He's losing his shit. It's awesome. But
nice.
He's handling a weapon, right? Okay, so not likely to put your eye out if you're paying attention, because guess what? Little man wears safety glasses when he goes outside to shoot his BB gun, and he carries the BB gun at the low ready, and he keeps it up and down range while he's shooting it. I took the time to talk to him about it, to give him a block of safety training, and explain this is how you treat this weapon. This is your rifle. You take good care of it, and you use it correctly. And this is what correct looks like. And I've been observing him for the last week as he's been doing that. and he's been spot on, doing a great job. That's how you do.
Anarchy talks about how the BB gun could easily be modified and customized. Well, I'll tell you what, my favorite last ditch effort or last ditch defense gun modification is you take a shotgun shell and you tape it to the barrel. Okay, tape it right to the muzzle, and if you pull the trigger, it's a wizard bang stick. Okay, the BB will hit the primer and then the shell will go off. If you do this, it actually works. It's my brother and I get into we do some dumb shit sometimes.
Mario's
wizard stick.
I need a chance to hang out with you and your brother sometime, Mario. I've only gotten to hang out with Marco the one time.
You do. We play. We're tabletop gamers. Okay, so be prepared to play Axis and Allies, either Pacific or European theater. Or if we got you, then we might combine them and make it total World War. That's what we do. We literally we geek out for like 72 hours straight playing Axis and Allies.
Okay, I could play that. I could do that. Excellent. So let me do this. So by introducing age-appropriate lessons, parents can build a foundation of respect and safety around firearms, reducing curiosity-driven risks and instilling responsible attitudes. Below is a guide for teaching firearm safety across various age groups. Early childhood, ages 3 to 6, right? Key lessons: stop, don't touch, leave, tell it, right? Young children are naturally curious about their environment. And this is the stage when their sense of boundaries and rules is still developing. At this age, it's critical to teach them a basic but firm understanding of firearms as off-limits objects. Excuse me.
My goodness.
Introduce the National Rifle Association's Eddie Eagle Gun Safe program, which uses the simple mantra to help young children remember what to do if they encounter a firearm.
Eddie Eagle.
Simple, direct language. Go ahead.
Eddie Eagle. That's not like Jim Crow. That's like Jim Eagle. Okay, that doesn't sound good. Not a good look, NRA. Not a good look.
I'm okay with it. So many levels.
That's
Reiterate rules frequently.
Throwaway comment.
Okay, so elementary school age, ages 7 to 10. By this stage, children begin to develop critical thinking skills and can grasp more nuanced concepts such as cause and effect. This is the time to introduce more detailed discussions about firearm safety while reinforcing the lessons taught earlier. All of them except the 5-year-old have sat down at the table with daddy and gone through cleaning the weapons. In fact, we just did that a couple weeks ago to clean my wife's daily carry. Understanding consequences. Explain the potential harm that firearms can cause if mishandled. Use age-appropriate language to describe why they are not safe for children to handle alone. In fairness, in my house, age-appropriate language is fuck around and find out. The kids know better than to use daddy words. I've taught all my daughters that those are daddy words, and you cannot use those words until you're a daddy.
Okay.
And they've all had the realization, wait, I'm never going to be a daddy. You're damn right.
I'm not taking the bait.
You're damn right you're not. Respect versus fear. Yes, teach respect for firearms without fostering fear. Children should understand that firearms are tools that require responsibility and care. Right. So we just moved out here to the middle of nowhere earlier this year. Until Dad bought his farm beginning of year before last, and then I got my chunk of land out here in the country earlier this year. Roger that, Legion. And for Christmas this year, one of the things that all 4 of my kids got for Christmas this year, they all got a pair of safety glasses and a set of Ear Pro. Except the 14-year-old. She already has her own Ear Pro, and she's been to the firing range with Granddad and I before. But now that we're out in the country and we've got the option, now they all have the hearing protection they need, so that they're ready to just go out in the yard with Daddy and an AR and put some bullets in some tin cans.
That's the American dream. Just shooting guns
Absolutely.
on your own property. Shooting guns on your own property. Hell yeah.
So there's your safety brief. There's your safety brief for this week. I know Mario's got to get moving, so we're going to go ahead and button it up right there. Thanks for watching this week, guys. Be safe out there. Don't drive drink. Don't fry bacon naked. And sex, drugs, rock and roll, videotape, and farm animals. No two at the same time. Y'all be safe. We love you, and we will see you on Monday.
Ciao.